you for watching the UN Brief, and don't forget to subscribe. Today we interviewed Minister-Counsellor Kimmo Laukkanen from the Finnish Permanent Representative Office here in Geneva, next to the United Nations and its agencies. We spoke about the Conference on Disarmament and laws, the lethal autonomous weapons systems that are being negotiated, that draft test to be presented, a report in the upcoming December conference of the Convention of Conventional Weapons. Thank you for watching the UN Brief, and don't forget to subscribe. So today I would like to speak a little bit about the Conference on Disarmament, just a little bit of an introduction to what the Conference of Disarmament is, because I know this is your dossier, that's the one that you take care of.
The Conference of Disarmament is convening the sessions here in Geneva, and it's 65 member countries. In Finland is one of the countries of these 65. And the mandate of the CD is to negotiate legally binding instruments on disarmament, meaning like disarmament treaties. The last one that was negotiated in Conference of Disarmament is CTBT, which is for the test ban of the nuclear weapons. And there was also a mandate to negotiate about the fissile material cut-off treaty, FMCT, but the negotiation has not yet started. And during the last decade or so, there's been very little happening in CD because of lack of program of work. But basically, CD is unique because it's all P5 countries are there, and also the other countries that have nuclear weapons are inside. So it's a kind of interesting combination. Finland will be the chairing. Finland will have the presidency of the CD at some point like April 2023. Not too far, actually.
I see. So I remember last year there were some tiffs around some of the issues of wording of some documents. I remember the US mission came out with a strong commentary in terms of that country members were not agreeing on certain things as simple as, I think, was gender related. Can you comment on that? What was the tiff, and is that being resolved, or that was sort of a distraction of the main topics?
Actually, it started already during the Australian presidency of the CD in 2020. The presidency at that time would have liked to update the CD rules of procedure to be gender neutral, in the sense that there's no he if there is a reference for chair. There's no chairman, it's a chairperson. So instead of calling a chair he, it should be gender neutral, and that was the discussion that was on the table during the Australian presidency and again during the Canadian presidency. And what US was referring to is that the lack of consensus to update the rules of procedure, because some countries did not agree that the rules of procedure is a matter of urgency. They said that this is like a Pandora box. If you want to change one element of the rules of procedure, some other countries would like to change the other element of the rules of procedures. It became very tricky. And some countries say that you cannot negotiate on the English version of the rules of procedure. You have to negotiate on both 6 language versions. So it became like a nightmare. So no results yet. So maybe Finland will continue this discussion during our presidency to really update the Conference of Disarmament rules of procedure to become gender neutral, because we are already, this is 2021. We shouldn't be able to agree to update this document to reflect this current reality.
So another topic that will come up quite a bit, and I think it has started, maybe you can give us a background a little bit, how much has been discussed already, it's laws, little autonomous weapons systems, which are, being, there is a special body that's negotiating issues around that, the uses and whether the conventions, the international humanitarian law already serves the purpose of regulating and curbing excesses and use and irresponsible uses, or is the Conference on Disarmament the one that should be taking care of that more, or has it already started? Give us a little bit of a background, please, and also if going forward, what you see is going to happen.
A lethal autonomous weapons system has been discussed under other Geneva-based body, which is Convention for Certain Conventional Weapons, CCW, not at the CD. And the reason for that is that autonomous weapon systems, the main concern on lethal autonomous weapon systems comes from the aspect of Geneva Conventions and IHL, meaning that what is the required level or required amount, if you like, of human control on autonomous weapon systems, and what is the tolerated level of autonomy that we can actually accept in autonomous weapon system. This is the balance we are trying to find, and some countries consider that the existing IHL itself provides us with the adequate basis, adequate framework to limit the harmful potential harmful implications of the laws, while the other countries say that IHL itself it's not enough because we need to the sole issue of the technological development requires that we have to update the existing like regulations and build new regulations also. These are two different like a dividing lines. The other said IHL is enough.
Well, what would be the reason? Give us some examples of what reasons you'd see the international humanitarian law will be not enough.
Yeah, because IHL usually talks about protection of the civilians and protection of non-combats in the war, so that they are not involved in how could I say, they don't become as victims of the warfare. Okay, well, those countries and those stakeholders that we feel that IHL is not enough say that the whole issue of autonomous weapon systems should be based on the ethics that no human being should not be killed by a machine like a robot. And they also say that these little autonomous weapon systems are not responsible, not accountable, and they cannot be if they made a mistake, if they made like a fatal mistake, who is accountable for the mistake? Who will be punished? Like this issue of impunity comes with laws. Somebody says. Well, the others say that yes, this is very useful discussion, but at the same time, you have to tell us what is the definition of the lethal autonomous weapons, because these kind of weapons, they don't exist today. We have some features or characteristics of autonomy in existing weapon systems in the software, but we don't have to separate lethal autonomy weapon available. So
wasn't there apparently the Security Council a couple of weeks ago actually said something like there had been already uses of these technologies, that they are quite advanced. They have been used.
Like drones.
Right, like yes. Autonomous, they mentioned the word laws.
Yes.
Little autonomous weapons systems, meaning that these coordinated drones, so to speak, yes, right, working in a symmetrical fashion, programmed in a certain way. And the idea is that because they are programmed, they can rely on some sort of continuation of the orders they were given and choose. Of course, they are the programming is designed by humans, but at one point the systems automatically start doing their thing. So apparently this is already being used in the field.
Like drones, yes, drones, and of course,
very similar, right? Because it's the same at the basis, the same system.
Yes, even though they are not fully autonomous system, because I have to say that when we talk about the pros and cons of autonomic weapon systems, well, like I mentioned, there's a lack of deficit of accountability, of responsibility if the weapon can select, target, and eliminate the object without human control. But at the same time, if you have some elements of autonomy in the weapon systems, it could be optimizing the casualties and avoid, what they call it, collateral damage. So what I was trying to say that actually the amount of evidence of using little autonomy weapons, whether it's in compliance or non-compliance of IHL, is not yet quite clear to me. But concerning this, you said in the beginning that whether it will be at CD or somewhere else, it is CCW, and at CCW there's a group of governmental experts in which Finland is also a member, and we are trying to make like a meaningful document to be considered at the sixth review conference this December on possible limitations of the effects of the lethal autonomous weapons. And the question is that should it also include some kind of prohibitions or not? Some countries say that it's premature to make a legally binding instrument on prohibitions on laws yet, while the others say that if we don't do it right now, at CCW, there must be other venue for the negotiate the legally binding instrument, include the prohibitions. And but from my point of view, I mean, if there is a prohibition of fully autonomous weapons, yes, that would be perhaps appropriate. But at the same time, there must be also definition what kind of autonomy is accepted, because you cannot really prohibit all aspects of the autonomy in the weapons. It's not possible. It's utopia to me. So you have to make some kind of balance.
Yes, indeed. There are pros, as we said, the precision of the targets that as to avoid, in compliance with international humanitarian law, avoiding civilians and critical infrastructure during warfare. But there are also the issues that the autonomous weapons systems can go rogue. So how do we make provisions? Because these provisions maybe international humanitarian laws do not yet cover.
So, yeah, because Geneva Convention is 70 years old, and we don't have these kind of issues there. I think it's an ongoing challenge in IHL and international law or international criminal law, how to keep up the pace of technological development. Originally, if you look at the history of IHL, it's pretty much about the change of the warfare. New technologies are always coming, and this is not it's not necessarily a new issue, but what comes it's new is of course some kind of risks that have been highlighted by technological gurus or academians or philosophers or some kind of researchers. about this kind of dystopia, if you know what I mean, that the machines will rule the world. So of course there are certain kind of risks, and that against this background is very important that we continue the discussions here in Geneva within CCW, because this is the only way we can address the issues. This is the only way. There's no other way that the countries, the state parties must discuss together, share information, present some recommendations, try to find consensus, and introduce some best practices. It's natural that it will take time because it's very complicated. It's natural that the countries have different positions. But for us, of course, for Finland, it's very important that we have some kind of effective outcome.
So the Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights, for the first time, mentioned in a recent report of their advisory committee for the Human Rights Council on looking at the issues related to human rights law and laws, lethal autonomous weapons systems. So I think the conversation will encompass all of society, not only the experts and the military and armament affairs, right? So is this conversation going to be touched upon in December when you have your next meetings?
The December will be the review conference, and I think that this will be the main venue for all different stakeholders, including the activists from human rights and the activists from criminal law, to present their case. And I hope that we will try to find some kind of balance, if you like, because, as I said, it's a very complicated issue. Of course, because this is coronavirus, COVID, we have not been able to meet enough, and that might be used as an argument against GG laws in sense that we have not been effective. But we are trying to catch up now. We lost something like, because of hiatus, we lost something like 16 months without having been able to have any official meetings, only informal meeting and presenting some papers. But let's hope that we will have some meaningful ends in December, at least from our point of view. From the Finnish point of view, we are ready to support any kind of meaningful consensus among the state parties. If it's meaningful and effective, that could actually help us to regulate the threats of little autonomous weapons. Not necessarily prohibitions as such, but more like limitation of the effects of the possible use of little autonomous weapons.
Thank you very much, Minister-Counsellor Kimmo Laukkanen.
Thank you.
From the Finnish Permanent Representative Office to the United Nations and its agencies in Geneva. Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching the UN Brief, and don't forget to subscribe,